Hello, hello.
Wow, we're back in action. What's cracking, Kate?
Oh, I'm having a great day. It's sunny here. It's not -2. Everything is sunshine, sunshine and rainbows over here.
This is crazy because maybe I'm tripping, but I swear every time I see you, your hair is up. So like your hair is down. I have my hair down today too. So it's gonna be the hair down kind of day.
It's a hair down kind of day. I will admit to being pretty lazy today. So I am very low key at the moment. I'm trying to wear my
No,
hair down more
yeah, it's
because
good.
it's good. Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's a new look for me.
All right, there you go. Well, I'm gonna grow mine out. Well,
Okay, good,
and
good. Yeah.
wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. I always say you got to stay positive, right?
Exactly. Positive, positive.
All right. So today, what are we talking about?
Oh my goodness. It's going to be a really fun day. We are talking about intros and outros. And as I always do, everything that we do on this show, and really in every piece of content that at least I create for Ecamm, it's all selfish because I know that there's a ton of improvements I could be making, both to this show, to my own show, to my own content. So I thought if we talked about it and we took questions from our live studio audience and I got your brilliant insights on it, maybe I could actually start taking some actions to improve it. Because I think I know what I'm doing wrong and I know the best practices, but I haven't just made those changes yet. So join me in getting it a little bit better.
Totally see that. I totally
Yeah.
see that. And actually, let's swear everybody in. Louise, see what you
Yeah.
did? You got me stuck on swearing everybody in now. It's freaking Louise's fault.
New people in the chat are like, wait a sec, what did I sign up for? What are we swearing into?
Oh my God. Louise just got all up in my brains. All
Yeah.
right. So people, when we start our recording, we still, for safety reasons, we still do a double ender. And 9 times out of 10, Louise doesn't need it. And let me explain this to the people watching the show. A double ender is where, and I don't know why our users make like this is super hard to get their guests to do because it really isn't. But what we tell the people that's calling in is just record your camera on your end. Okay, so the person has a webcam, they could simply just open QuickTime and press record. They don't have to do anything else, right? If they're using Ecamm to call in, which most of our people end up doing, luckily, they just press record on Ecamm. And
Mhm.
then when the show is over, we use an app called Blip, which I have a link to that Paul can't send to you because Paul is sick, but it's just blip.net.
Yep.
You go to Blip
Blip.net.
and Blip will automatically send the file to the person
Testing,
if the
testing.
person's in your phone book. It's like super easy. I really, my sister can do it, and my sister is brilliant at Air Force. That's it. She can help run F-35 jets. After that, it's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So it is very simple. Even Billy could do it. Hi, Billy.
Hi,
So
Billy.
yeah, double ender is the thing, and it's funny because we still get tons and tons of people asking us about local recording, and I
Mhm.
know the boys are thinking about it, but I know people who use it all the time, and they say it doesn't really work. From all the other things they have this local recording. So we've been doing this double ender thing since about 2007 when I first started doing video podcasts. So trust me, it's super simple. But that's when Luis tells us to swear in, so he has a place to line the video files up and
Mhm.
it just popped in my brain. Okay, so let's start the show. You guys know what it is. If you have a question, please drop a Q colon inside so that Luis is manning the show today because Paul is
Mhm.
out. So that way we can do that. And thank you, Jeremy. I see Jeremy came to help out as well. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jeremy, and bon fête or happy birthday in Cajun. So
Bon
there's
fête.
that. Bon fête. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Canadian. Yeah.
Well, that's French. I don't know if that's Cajun.
Cajun means Canadian. Hello.
Mm. Oh.
I only figured it out like a year ago. I feel smart now. I don't know why I had no idea. Okay, let's count it down. Let me drink a water real fast. Not sponsored. Hydrate Spark is so good. It keeps you from getting dehydrated. Just don't buy the 32 ounce because it's heavy as sin. Oh my God, it's like carrying around weight. Okay. Now with your gift card, I'm going to buy a new plastic one that doesn't weigh as much.
Perfect. Perfect.
And 5, 4, aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to this edition of The Flow. I am Doc Rock, along with my awesome co host.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie.
I knew it. I knew it. So, Kate, we're going to talk about stuff today. And I know you had a whole game plan. So can you tell the folks what we're going to talk about today and why?
I have a game plan and you just nailed it. So if you are joining us for this episode now or listening later, we are talking about intros and outros. What do you need to know? What shouldn't you do? What are some of the pro tips to being successful? And how can we convince me to do it better? Because I'm not rocking at it at the moment, and I know there's some improvements I can make. So intros and outros today, which is a huge part of any kind of show, whether it's podcasting or live streaming or both, like we do.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I really like this episode. And one of the things I like about this is you mentioned in the pre-show that there's tons of things that you think that you can do to improve. And the
Yep.
reason why I like the idea of this is because this is the curse. A lot of people set themselves up for I need to improve all of these things, and your brain kind of wants to fix them all at once, and you just can't.
Yeah, making it too
Right?
big. Yep.
Imagine changing the floor and painting the wall and scraping the popcorn off the ceiling all
Yep.
simultaneously. It just doesn't work. You have to do them one at a time. And yeah, there should be an order, but it's not. Tons and tons of people do it every week out of order. It really doesn't matter, but you really can only change them one at a time. And I think a good thing to keep in the back of your mind is to do them one at a time
Hmm.
and let them breathe.
Yep.
So where I see I myself have made mistakes is change like five things at once, and then you don't know which one actually did anything.
Yeah.
And then if it happens to slide backwards, because it's a possibility, your audience may not agree with the change that you made. You don't know which of the five things
Yeah.
set the
Worked or didn't
cart.
work. Yeah.
What is that? Grandma set the apple cart? No, what she said? Something about an apple cart. I'm sorry,
Something about the
Grandma.
apple cart.
Flipped or turned or yeah, whatever. Something about the apples falling out the cart. I don't know. I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm not an old lady. So,
There's
um,
apples everywhere, you guys. Apples all over
there's
the
apples on
place
the.
right now.
Let the
Yeah.
apples hit the floor. Let the apples hit the floor. Sorry, sorry.
Uh,
So yeah, that is a very cool thing. But just please, please, please remember, folks, when you decide you want to do something, and I like the way Katie's doing it. We're having a plan. We're going to talk about it with you guys first,
yep.
and then we can come up with a plan of action. Then we can initiate the action, and then we can kind of see, right? But just don't get yourself psyched out because it is so easy. And I still do this to this very day to see somebody's show and then go, man, that'd be really cool if I did X, Y, Z. And it's like, yeah, but really, is it? And I think this is a huge problem in the community because the community is always people trying to add stuff to their show. And I'm like, your regular show ain't ready for you to add anything else yet.
Yeah.
I've seen
Well,
your regular show.
Here's how I want to frame this episode, and I can explain a little bit about sort of where I'm at, because I think many of you are probably in the same boat as me, keeping in mind everything Doc said and the fact that Doc and I are both in a simplify and streamline zone this year. So keep that in mind. Everything Doc said, 100%, we are on board for that. I in my keeping things streamlined and simplified mode, I actually took this whole concept and idea from ChatGPT, and then I gave back to ChatGPT some of the questions that I had about this and got some additional information,
Brilliant.
which is so again, we've talked about episode topics. This is what I am doing because of what I have learned. So the things I really want to share, which I think really simplified it for me, is that so as we're thinking about intros and outros for any kind of show, for an intro, all you are trying to do is set a first impression. So you don't overthink it. All you're trying to do is welcome people into your episode and you're setting an impression. So it can be really simple, it can shift and change. You're welcoming and setting an impression. And then the outro at the end, you're leaving an impact, right? You want to say something that's going to be memorable. It might include getting people to take some kind of action. It might not. You're really just leaving an impact, right? A lasting impact. A first impression, a lasting impact. So I want all of us as we dive into this to remember that whatever you're doing right now might not be wrong, might need to be tweaked, might not need to be tweaked. You could make a decision now that you might want to change down the road. Your audience could dictate what some of it is. So like our intro didn't always start off this way. And now it's become this like somewhat silly thing where Doc does the official intro and I chime in in a silly way. And then we have our flow riders out at the very end of our episode, right? That's not a call to action. That's a rally cry, right? But that came from spending time with all of you in our recording space and time. So again, like those are, if you take only one thing from this episode, take that in every episode that you do, you want to give people a great first impression, leave them with a lasting impact. Everything else that you do is okay.
It's okay.
Can be changeable. It's
And
okay.
I do agree, like one thing that would be probably very beneficial, we just haven't done it yet, is like the old school saying, tell them what you're gonna say, then say what you're gonna say, then tell them again. I forgot. Again, my brain does not remember any of this old school stuff right now. But you know what it is. So an advantage in
Yeah.
that particular case, I think most people when they think about intro outro, they think about like, sort of the countdown. And my
Yes.
thoughts on that is we scrub them
Yeah.
completely. I hate them. But in the podcast sense, it makes sense because you're going to hear that when you hear the finished episode.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's not that big a deal. We probably could shorten this one
Mhm.
to 30-ish seconds, maybe. If Luis can find that cut. If not, I can make it. Just because the whole concept, the old school concept of we got to give people a chance to catch up, yeah, that's gone out the window. And I still hear many creators say, even creators of large S, is that the right word? They say, oh, well, I'm doing it so that I can give people a chance to come in. No, you're not. You're doing it for your ego. Like the people who want to be there will be there ahead of time. Flow riders are normally here ahead of time. They're normally
Mhm.
waiting for us. So that part is out the window. And it's still because that story was told so long and that story so well aligned with ego, it's hard to tell people now that yeah, the internet don't work like that no more, homie. The internet is quick. Like you really don't have to do that. Um
Yeah.
and Zoom and YouTube and all these other places have spent billions of dollars to make it so that when you fire it up, it just goes. And you're
Mhm.
recording a podcast. So it's going to be fine in the finished product anyway. So yeah, it's kind of
Unless I guess so I've been thinking about this a lot because certainly like we as Ecamm do a ton of live streams and we have traditionally over the last however many years done countdown timers. We still have a countdown timer for this show. Um it's interesting with podcasts though because I do think that some of it like some of the and this is kind of before what I would call an intro. So like an intro would be like what Doc just did where it was like welcoming people to the show, saying like what the episode is about, kind of setting the tone for the show. But the kind of like before that, I think like if if there is something that you can do at the beginning of the show that adds something, then it might be worth adding in. So, and I'll give you an example. And
yeah.
Doc actually was huge in this for my personal show, right? So I had this like epidemic sound music similar to what we have for the flow, and that really wasn't doing a whole lot. Like it wasn't mine. It wasn't really all that special. It didn't really do anything. It was just a countdown timer. We were waiting for people to come on. And so there was nothing really like exciting or personal or community driven about that experience, right? It was just literally like waiting for the algorithms, which doesn't even matter anymore. But Doc, being Doc, who is awesome, created an entire AI theme song for our show, right? That is like incredibly personal, like, right? It's like, it's silly, it's fun, it's in kind of the like 90s boy band tone. It
I
talks
told
about
it to
me, it
try
talks
to
about
be
my
the
co-hosts,
Mosfets.
the Muffets, right?
The
So
Moffitt.
it's really personal, it's fun. And it's beneficial for both the like live audience who are reading like a fun fact that's scrolling by on screen. So like there is an interactivity to it while the theme song is playing, but the theme song is still really relevant to people who are just listening to the episode later. So in that kind of case, like I might remove the countdown timer functionality. Maybe no one actually cares about that because they're just reading the fun fact and they're jumping on and they know our theme song at this point. But I would say if there's a point to the music or if it's part of your brand or if, if you have done it with some kind of intention, then it's probably fine to keep that in. You just might
Yeah.
want to think about what the actual experience is like. So like maybe at the beginning of the flow, I've been wondering and thinking about like maybe as Doc said, we shortened down our like theme song that now is memorable to us and people know, but maybe we put like like some kind of thought-provoking questions to get our live audience excited, which wouldn't take away from people who are listening, but would be
Right.
beneficial to our community who are so like there's things we could do in that kind of like moments before we jump on that help to kind of again
It's like an
create a
intro
great first
segment.
impression, right? It's an
Yeah,
intro
yeah.
segment. So there's
What's
some
really
options.
cool, first of all, Dana just said this in the chat. How are you, Dana? Like,
Hey Dana.
okay, all the Canadians are coming through. um, what's really cool is like, all right, I'll pick on Dana because Dana was a hockey player, right?
Yes.
There's the sweeping lights and then the intro and the team comes on and that just a rally cry. It gets everybody fired up as you skate out to the center and hit the
Yep.
right? The one thing I can't do in skates is stop. I just crash into people, but I can skate really fast. So that's cool because that's the hype, yo. That gets you ready to go, you know. When your goalie's over there like tack tack tacking and hitting all of the pads and like hit the muscle pose and everybody screams, you know. Especially Oli the goalie was the best at firing up the crowd,
Yep.
like that. So bringing some that kind of fun hype element to your show is dope if that matches your show. And so I agree with question of the day type of thing. That's something that
Mm-hmm.
we do on Creators Unstuck because we start out, tell them what we're going to say, and we hit it with the question of the day so that they can
Perfect.
start to chime in the chat. Another thing that would be cool for us for the flow would be to do some kind of like tip right out the gate
Mm-hmm.
because that brings value to the audience who's listening, but it also brings value to anyone who's watching on the replay. And so the
Yep.
thing that people need to remember is we leave our live recording up so that that replay is available. We
Mm-hmm.
do would love everybody to just wait and listen to the recorded episodes, but sometimes people know we record the day, they come late, they just want to back up and hear what they need because they need it right now. And so the advantage of slimlining the just countdown, which has zero value whatsoever at the end of the day, it
Exactly.
has absolutely zero value to the retail to the
Yep.
replay viewer. So that's the challenge of leaving the countdown. But I love the concept of let's coming in with some fire thing,
Yep.
even if it's a recap of last week and like, yo, these were the poignant steps we got from last week. I like highlighting a viewer, a listener. I like highlighting Brian or Dana or Stephen and saying, "Hey, good to see you here." Um, People, if you haven't heard already, check out Billy. Billy just released a new episode on his Billy the Dealmaker podcast, and it was really about the new thoughts on live selling for 2025.
Yeah.
I want to highlight that before we start because it's something that's really cool. So now people are like, okay, I want to show up more because they're going to give me the shout out, but also that person will then in turn send people to your episode.
Mm-hmm.
So being a
Yeah,
good
there's
community
lots you can
forward
do.
person,
Yeah.
yeah, lots you can do, lots of ideas. So we're leaving it up to you guys. If you have something you want to see us do first, drop that in the chat. I mean, because that's
Yeah,
what we're here to do. We're
definitely.
here to build this show for you. It's not really about us. We get paid to be here left to right.
I
So
mean, hilariously, the other thing we could do, and certainly like any of you could do as well, if it like makes sense for your brand or what you want to do, is like this show is really a lot about the process of podcasting. So we could also just, put our like we all
travel.
jump on early and do like our tech check. Like we could just tech check until we're ready to go and then go like and then already be live and go
So
and start
much
our
less
recording
swearing,
process. So
Luis, if
yeah,
we
I know
do
we'd have to talk
that.
Luis into swearing less, but just kidding.
Because that's what
Yeah.
Lou and I do. We do the pre-show live, and then we do
Yeah.
the show, and then we do a tiny little bit of after show.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it's actually kind of cool. I like the idea of keeping it so raw because I think there's so many people that are still afraid of the process, and I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
the process is fun, bro. You just got to go in,
Yeah.
like don't overthink it.
Yeah, it definitely is easier, and the cool thing about it, which we say I think often on this show, is that it's all editable. And by that I mean like you can decide something and then in a couple weeks you can be like, I didn't really care for that. I'm going to make a change to that. That's fine. It's your show. You're not going to break anything by changing it up and seeing whether or not people like it or don't like it. I do want to say, I guess, some like ground rules as we're thinking about like putting together intros. As Doc said, like you want it to be short, so you don't want to be going on and on, regardless of what your intro is, right? So like, and that includes if you do like a kind of pre-intro, like if you do a theme song or music or a question of the day or whatever else, that needs to be like quick, snappy. And then your intro itself needs to be quick, snappy, like no more than 30 seconds. Again, Doc's was perfect today. It's like, hey, I'm Doc Rock. This is the flow. Let's do it, right? Like it's you're getting into it because people who are with you every single time, they know what the show is. They're there,
Yeah.
they're ready to listen to you. But it also builds like consistency, brand recognition, and if new people are jumping on, it just immediately sets the tone, right? It's your first impression. So do you want to be consistent with it and build it. And again, like, some general best practices, right? Like it ideally in your intro, like includes the name of the podcast, what the episode or what the show is about, a quick tease. Like there are standards and things that you can do. You could certainly play with that. Like maybe it doesn't make sense to say the name of your podcast every single episode. That's fine. But there, there are simple things that you can do that you can get then into the habit of doing every single week, right? When you turn on the
Yeah.
show, this is what you're going to say, and that's how you're going to get going. So I find intros to be a little bit easier than outros, just because it
Yeah.
feels like it
Outros harder.
makes more sense. I really struggle with outros.
Yeah.
So,
So
um,
here, Dana has a very, very good point. Dana said, I think people engage more when there's an expected structure, but then they also get
yeah,
the experience of something like sort of spontaneous, unexpected variations. And I really do like that concept. I will
yeah,
say the one advantage of sort of introducing your show, even though it's the same over and over again, and I find myself doing this on the shows that I listen to all the time, I do the intro with them, like I legit
yes,
say it out loud because I know exactly what they're going to say. But I think one of the advantages of that is that also sort of segments in a little bit of that community feel, but
yep,
you are introducing yourself to somebody who may be brand new,
yep,
and it's almost like a welcoming gesture to the new person that just coming in, so they know exactly what's going to go. And then I've even seen some podcasters be like, okay, new people, we have a couple inside jokes around here.
hmm,
Well, some of them will explain, some of them we won't, but you'll figure it out, and just welcome to sort of the party.
yep,
I know that my guys on True Crime Obsessed, they definitely have their little weird inside
hmm,
jokes. Like they have a bell that they ring for really crappy people. It's the garbage person bell. And
hmm,
then it took about 3 episodes to figure that bell out. But once I did, I felt like I discovered something, and now
yeah,
I'm in. So
yeah.
they never really explained it per se. They just kept it going. And you totally figure it out. It's like, oh, Helen's gonna get a bell. Because oh my God, I can't believe Helen. She left the dad with those kids. And you figure it out right away, and now you're part of the team. So I think there's some really cool, nuanced ways to add a little bit of that community to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like everything you just said, it goes down to being like consistent and thinking about what brand you are building. Whether or not you're being intentional about building a brand, you are still building a brand with your show, right? So there are going to be people that show up, as Doc said, week after week, and you need to pay attention to them. So I'm a big fan, as we've talked about a ton of times, the show Morbid, which again is a true crime show. Shout out to my Massachusetts girlies. But they are a wildly popular show. They've been around for years, and they at one point changed their theme song just for Halloween, like just to be like fun for Halloween. And their audience was like, "What the hell? Like, where is your theme?" So, and it ended up being like a funny thing, and they immediately noticed, and they were like, "No, no, no! Like, we're just changing it for
Put it back.
Halloween," and they put it back, right? But so you can definitely test and play, as I said earlier, but you need to also like be aware that you're building on what you've done before. And again, as we say all the time, like really pay attention to what your community and what your people are saying, because there are parts that they may love, like Doc was, like the bell, or like, maybe it's your intro music, maybe it's, how ridiculous I am when I say, "Hi everyone, I'm Katie." Like if you
It's
make some
funny
of
to
those
me.
changes, right? Like people might care and they might, that might be
If you
part of
didn't do
what they
that, it
really
would
love.
break me because I'm expecting it. So it's such a
Yeah.
normal thing now for here it is, like we're pushing 100 episodes. Like that
We're
would
almost
actually break me
there.
if you didn't say it. I'd be like, she good? I'm like,
Yeah.
Louise, did she say something backstage? What happened?
What happened? What
So
happened? Is she angry me? Yeah.
that's super funny. I really like that. And we were talking about structure earlier this week. We were on a Zoom call with Brandon Washington.
Yeah.
And then like again for their show, even if I show up late, I can listen for about 5 minutes or so. I know where we are in the show. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like there's sort of a very much expectation. This sounds crazy to say it, but it's similar to Law and Order. Like
Doo-doo.
I I can tell
Yeah.
like within the first 10 minutes, like how exactly how it's gonna flow. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, like this person's gonna be thought, and then this person's gonna get pushed. I tell you, you're kind of gonna believe it's them, but it's not really them, and this is gonna be the hang up. Like you kind of know the formula now. So I don't think it should be that formulaic, but it is definitely something that is there. Okay, so if you're thinking about a segment, right? We're talking about intros. Let's go. I think there's important to do a reset in the middle at times.
Oh, okay.
And this is very key. If you are the person who thinks you want to have sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important out the gate that you sponsor your show,
Yep.
even if your show is sponsored by you.
Yep.
Okay. I think you need to put an ad read in the middle. So here's something Rich mentioned last week. This is very cool. So Rich can go in the middle of his show and say, in order to do this podcast, we use Ecamm. Ecamm is a really effective tool that allows you to look good in Zoom, create, specialized recordings for your brands, for your product, for your schoolwork, for your business. You can also use it to do live stream. It's a full video production suite on the desk. If you want to check us out, go to, ecamm.com/Rich Graham. Boom. And he goes, all right, now back to the show. Now, that is an affiliate situation, but he builds in the ad read. Jared
Mm-hmm.
Spink did this extremely well. And there's a great example on YouTube. If you want to see how he did it, I can send you that link. Hey, Rich just showed up in the chat. I didn't even know he was here. I didn't even know he was here. Sorry, Rich.
Hey, Rich.
But so that was a brilliant, brilliant statement though last week from Rich. Like, even if you're not sponsored yet, by putting in the behavior of having an ad read, even if it's an ad read for yourself, like in Creators Unstuck, we do an ad read for Doc Pops, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also do an ad read for Marshall's Pod Pack
Mm-hmm.
because we want to give back to Marshall because Marshall made this lovely thing for us, right? So by doing that, somebody else is going to hear that. And then, Shure or Adobe Podcast or somebody will be like, hey, man, I was listening to your show. It's really good. I noticed that you have sponsors right now, but are you guys looking for new ones? And you'd be like, yeah. Don't say, oh, no, they don't pay for those. That would be real dumb. Okay. At that point, don't say that. But you could be like, yeah, we are. As a matter of fact, here's our media kit, and let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So if you set the availability, you're more likely to get some reaction. And there's no guarantee, but at least you're setting the intention. And the sooner you set the intention, the better, in
Yep.
my personal opinion.
Absolutely. Segments are one of those things we should do an entire episode on segments because that's one of those things that I think we could probably add more of that into this show, and I think the structure of that is really cool. Um, yeah, I'd love to dive deeper on that one. I want to dive into outros. I
Okay.
so here's here's my here's my challenge that I have with outros, and then let's talk it through because I did research a bunch of like best practices on it that hopefully will help. I feel like so intros again, I'm pretty good at because for the most part, it's welcoming to the show. I'm excited for the show, so I'm already in that headspace and I'm ready to get into it. But then you dive into the actual content of the show, you're there, etc. And I feel like I have a really hard time wrapping the show. And then once I am like ended the content, I'm not great at the like at what is the best thing to say in an outro. I've learned from some of the best out there that you shouldn't be giving obviously 10 different your outro should not be Thank you so much for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, follow, go back to my website, leave me a review, and buy my t-shirts. We would really love to see, like, it needs to be like one, one call to action, one, thing at the end. There's a number of different things, but I feel like I get frazzled in the, oh shoot, we're actually like out of time, and like either my guest or someone else actually needs to jump onto something else, so I'm trying to wrap faster than I want to, and then I don't do a good kind of transition into what I need to say, and then I just sort of panic, and we end up it's like roll the credits. We're wrapping. So
Okay,
I need
so
to, I think, pick like what thing and figure out like
here's a good way
when.
out. Here's a really really good way out. I think number one, you can't just do the Irish goodbye. Just leave. It's cool. I'm just joking. I'm joking.
And bye.
Uh, okay, gotta go. I think that you can say, "Oh my God, Case, this was so good, and I want to be respectful of your time. We don't have much time left, but as you can tell, we didn't get finished this. I need to have you back. Can I at least
Mm.
get a soft commitment that you'll come back so we can finish this up?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, sure. Let's try to get this on the calendar." Now the audience is hooked, right? You're giving the
Yeah.
audience a chance to know that this is going to keep going, especially when it's a really, really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, sorry, we couldn't get to all your questions. However, if you want to get them ready for the next time Case is on, here's how you submit your questions. For us, it's
Mm.
flow.ecamm.com. Go to
Yep.
the website, submit some questions right there. Now, the fact that you've given them a piece of homework, you cannot say the next call to action. You've given it.
Yep.
And I swear you're dead solid right. Lots and lots and lots and lots of people give a whole bunch of call to actions. If you are recording on YouTube and you're putting it at the end of the show, it's okay. But never, ever, ever put a leave YouTube call to action in the beginning of your show.
Mm.
Never. That is the absolute dumbest thing you can do. And most people don't realize it because they have been told by all these marketing people that you should, always tell people, good call to action for your audience. But the problem is you're telling people to leave the place of business. Like you walked into the restaurant at, say, Cheesecake Factory and told everybody to go to Casa Maria because the burritos are better, which they are. But you can't, if you stand in the middle of Cheesecake Factory and tell everybody to go to Casa Maria, they will tackle you
Yeah.
and then they will beat you senseless. So you're to YouTube, you're becoming a bad citizen. So I think at the end, it's very cool to give those CTAs where you might send them somewhere. But even then, I don't want them to leave YouTube. So what I say is keep this in the back of your head, but there's going to be an additional video you should check out. There's going to be another link. Here's even if you send someone to Torah's podcast or to what's that thing called Building Blocks. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you guys, we're talking about design today. If you're brand new to designing for Ecamm, go and check out Honor and Forges on Building Blocks. We'll put a link right in the chat right now. There's a video. If you're on this mission and you want to keep going, go and watch this right now because this will solidify what we talked about today and it'll give you the foundations so that you can build from here. Because now you have turned in what was an hour of listening to your show to another hour of listening to Honor and Fulgens. And
Mm-hmm.
then once they get over there and fall in love with Honor's laugh, like we all do, they're going to watch 2-3 hour Honors and Fulgens. You are a good citizen of YouTube. YouTube
Yeah.
goes, I'm going to promote that show because they get people stuck in a 5-hour binge, which means YouTube gets to serve 85 ads,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's premium, because those ads are still served. We just don't see them, but we get paid for that as well. So this is where people are always like, oh, boom, boom, boom. And so Tora said, I see a lot of people closing. Until next time, watch this video up here for the more content. That's why I end all of my videos with the algorithm is going to show you another video they think you should watch. And I agree with them. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you do your end of YouTube, another mistake that many people make is you put 2 videos on the end. If you live with Karen, you can't give her choices. You got to give her one. She goes to In-N-Out Burger and looks at the menu like, so you give people one choice, and then it makes it so much easier. That's why I just watched this really dope report about blind boxes. It's why blind boxes are so popular. No one has to decide. You know those Weebles, whatever you call it, behind your head.
Woobles,
Yeah,
yeah.
woobles. Why am I ever Weebles was a thing when we were kids. They wobble, but they don't
Weebles
fall
wobble,
down.
but they don't fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine like if they just came in a box and you don't know what's in there, you just got to
Yeah.
pull it and then make it.
Yeah.
They would actually sell 10 times more than giving people exactly what they want because people
Yeah.
get into the sort of hunt, the chase, sort of the gambling.
Hmm.
And so yeah, giving them the one option is also hella brilliant, bro. Super hella brilliant.
Do you know what I'm thinking about implementing? And I would love to actually have him come on the show. So I will tease you all by saying that we will talk him into coming on the show. But our one of our friends, Lou Mangello, has an absolutely incredible podcast. He's been doing it for as long as Doc, basically, and just got added into the podcast Hall of Fame. So
Oh, that
huge
was
shout
so
out
much fun.
to Lou. He has a podcast all about Walt Disney World. It's literally called WDW, Walt Disney World Radio. But what he does, and he's incredible at building community, is he actually ends his show by asking a question, and the way that his community answers the question is to go back to his website. So he asks a question verbally on his podcast, and then you can grab the link from the show notes. I think he has a QR code as well for when he's visually showing it. So like he has ways to be able to do that. So his call to action is actually a little bit less obvious. Like obviously his goal is to get people back to his website and interacting with his content, right? Because they're back to the website. That's, improving his website numbers. He's able to, track them. He can probably place ads against that. He's getting the community to engage. So he's getting their feedback. And then he can actually start episodes with, last week on the episode, at the end of the episode, we asked you did blah, blah, blah. 86% of you said yes, and whatever. He has some like fun thing that he can actually use for both his intro and his outro that is
Right.
really community focused, that is really a fun way to do that. So I've been thinking more about that, particularly for the VHS Club, because it could be something as simple as we asked people at the end of every single episode what their rating was for that movie if they had seen it, or how much we had convinced them to watch it if they had not. And we just take the results from the actual live chat, but we could very simply also just have that as a question for each episode that's on
Here's
Spotify.
a
Has a
cool one
poll,
for
for
you.
example, the website. So there's a ton of options
Yeah.
there.
Have them go to the website and submit their like Siskel and Ebert style review
Yep.
or and Antoine Merriweather style review. Like two snaps up in the Z formation. It had all the means. And then that way you read out the Josh review the next show, or you read
Yeah.
out the Paul's review or Valerie's review
Yeah.
or whatever. There also should be a thing in the front. Put the gamble in now before we talk about this show. How many people think that Valerie's seen this and how many
Yeah.
people don't? Then the new
Yeah.
people go like, what is this game, right? And
Yeah.
then they'll find out that Valerie's only seen like 1% of the movies ever made. And so it's kind of a fun game, but you're
Yeah.
building into sort of your community. All right,
Yeah.
speaking of building into community, I'm watching the chat right now and I'm kind of cracking up.
Yeah. There's
We
some
have
great
all
questions.
come accustomed to Anna is little a and a, but autocorrect always capitalizes it, and it does it for me too, and it drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it's because we want to put a in a lowercase, and
Mm-hmm.
like that has become a thing of the community. And even like yesterday, George wins something, and I'm like, okay, now it's a running joke that George's always going to win something. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to tell Katie I got to bring George to NAB. So after the conference, we can win some
Can win
money.
all the things. Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
gonna go to the casino. And they're like, you guys see Ecamm? Yeah, they're at the tables. George is racking it up.
George is with
So,
them. George is with them.
but those things that you do in your show that build your community, the community all has these internal jokes within each other. I love it when they have a name, right? Like
Yeah.
you got taters, right? We got flow
Yeah.
riders.
Yeah.
When you build a name for it as well, you're just really tying them in. So even adding a segment like that to your outro
Mm-hmm.
that gives props, like Miss Nancy, right? Miss Nancy had the little circle thing, and she'd be like, I see Taisha and Tora and Luis and Anna. And that, I mean, from all the way back then, that was the outro to the show. But like I used to sit there like a little kid, wondering if she's gonna call my name.
Yeah.
And I was dumb enough to think she meant actually me, not like the random Sean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm just sitting there
100%.
like, Miss Nancy, say my name. Miss Nancy, say my name. And then like once every 2 weeks when she would say it, Mom, she saw me. Like it's it's funny, but it really it does work.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. So I have some good I think I have some good ideas, and I'm gonna say, and this is a little bit of perfectionism kicking in, but here is,
Kick
if you
it.
are like me and you have perfectionism that's popping up that you're whack-a-moling down. One thing that Chat GPT actually suggested, which I am going to take to some level. So one of the points that in as Chat GPT was helping me with an outline for this episode, it suggested to batch record your intros and outros, which I am not going to do.
Can't
Um,
do it.
but some of you might actually find that content helpful if you like, if you're recording episodes and not live streaming them, absolutely batch them. What I will take from that point though, because I still, what ends up happening is in the moment my brain overthinks and panics and then shuts down, so that I end up kind of choking over my words, particularly at the outro, and then I'm not happy with how it is at the end, and then it's kind of this spiral that I'm in. So to get out of that spiral, rather than batch record, I think what I'm actually going to do is record a bunch of the same outro for the next couple of weeks, like maybe before I do the episode, not use the recordings, but use that as an opportunity to practice. So if I get into the habit of like, okay, what is it that I actually want to say in the outro? When I'm not flustered and whatever, record it so that you memorize it, right? Like your brain starts understanding what it is you want to say. You're in the same space that you're in. You're in the same kind of, you know, Ecamm scenes are all around you. Like it looks and feels the same. To use that as my kind of practice, so that when I do get into those moments, muscle memory will kick in and I'll just be able to say what I have to say. So I will say that even though I'm not going to batch record, the idea of practicing some of those things once you have an idea of what you actually really want best case scenario to be, at least for me, I think is going to make a big difference. So like I know what I want it to be. I just never pull it off. So if I could actually plan and get into that kind of muscle memory of just knowing what it, like how it's going to be, I think it'll be significantly
I
easier.
think I kind of like that idea. Okay, because here's a simple question for you. What is it about doing the show, recording or live? What is it that triggers the flustering? Is that the right word? Flush. What triggers the flust?
I think what triggers the flust is, so for that particular show, it's a few different things. One, it's that I'm trying to be really respectful of my time and of Nat's time. So and we do it late at night. So for me, it goes from 9 to 10. And so I'm like, by 10 o'clock at night, I'm tired. I know Nat's tired. Like we just need to wrap, right? So part of me is like, I'm having fun, but I also want to be sensitive to time and I want to close. The other thing is, I am trying to like grow the show, but I do want it to be a fun experience for everyone. So I feel like because I haven't prepped it and I haven't done a good job planning it out, I'm like, okay, Katie, in my mind, I'm like, we're at the end of the show. Let them know about the website. Oh, but let them know about next week's episode. Oh, but also let them know about, and so my mind is kind of just thinking too much. And then Nat will say something different because we haven't planned it. It's funny. Brandon said this incredible thing when you and I were on a call with him earlier this week, or I guess late last week, whatever it was. But he was saying that basically a lot of perfectionism lies in not actually having a good plan, like not doing the pre-production work that you need to do, so that then you end up flustered because you're winging it, right? So I think a lot of my flust lies in, I know generally what I want to do, but I didn't formulate an exact plan. And so my brain is on overdrive while the show is going. So people are like responding and Nat's talking, and my brain is like, what episode are we doing next week? Should you talk about that? Do you want people back to the website? Are you trying to grow the email list? Like, what's the best, most fun thing? And then I end up just being like, blah, we'll see you next week. Shut it down. And it
Okay,
doesn't come out
so
the way I
here's
want it
here's a
to.
cool plan of action for you for this. I want you to make a scene, not like make a scene, make a scene, but
Throw a scene. Yeah.
I want you to make a scene, and on that scene, all I want you to have is a two up of you and that, and
Yeah.
coming up next week. So when you're
Yeah.
ready to wrap the show, the visual trigger of
The visual
coming up
trigger.
next week, and
Yeah.
it has nothing else. It's literally your face, Nat's face, and the terminology coming up next week. Be
Yep.
really cool if you could get it made in a bijou,
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Oh,
talking
that'd be
about.
fun.
I
Yeah, yeah.
don't know the
Like a movie
name.
bijou. No, no, I think that's
I
what it's
just call
called.
it a
Like a
bijou because that's
marquee.
yeah,
Yeah,
a marquee. That's the word.
yeah.
Yeah, but a marquee, brother marquise the brother. Anyway, that's Two Live Crew. But make a marquee coming up next week, and then that puts your brain into a pattern trigger of next week we're going to do this particular show, and actually we're going to throw a curveball, or we don't even know yet, we're still planning, it doesn't matter what you say, but that
Yeah.
puts you in a 15 to 20-second
Wrap the
breakdown
show.
of coming up
Yeah.
next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can say, we do have a running list. You can leave it over there, or please go to the website. All it's going to do, that individual scene of itself will trigger you. So when we have to wrap up and I got to do the
Ad
call, the
reads.
ad reads or whatever, all Louise has to do is bring up the flow.ecamm.com screen. I know what to do. My brain just goes into pattern
Yeah.
because that's a pattern. And so
Yep.
what you do in your practice game is you build your coming up next week scene, and then you just practice, turn the scene on, and then go into your physical countdown, right?
Smart.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like in school, or it's even better in work because you know where you are. When you hear the bell, you know exactly what to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Didn't they do it at Amesbury recently? Like
Yeah,
you
they
got to
the
do the
foreigner,
fire
right?
thing, and you walk downstairs, and you got to go across the street,
Yeah.
right? Right. So
Yeah.
you know that already. You know
Yeah.
exactly what to do, right? If there was a siren or something from the war, like we used to practice these things. So
Yeah.
just have that ready. You're good to go, and then that way you don't have to think about what to say. You know exactly what to do, because we also know it's very possible that in the middle of a show something could come up, and then either you or Nat will have to go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Karen falls down the steps, or
Yeah.
Scarlett's standing there with the smile on her face, like, I don't know what happened, Mom. Yeah. All right. I just heard this crazy noise. We got to go, but coming up next week, and then your brain will shut the show down.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's really
I
smart.
think that alone would just make your job so much easier. And then you could even have on your desktop like a little picture or a thing that basically breaks it down what you're going to say, so
Yeah.
you know to go down that checklist. But I
Yeah.
think that that one little visual trigger will set you straight.
Yeah. And hilariously, you win. You get. We should have a "you win." Doc was right sound effect for the show, but in the outline it says, "Remember that visual elements make a big difference. Incorporating dynamic overlays, animations, or lower thirds to make your intro or outro visually appealing." So that's a really smart one. Having that, and if you all of you Stream Deck people out there who love having a Stream Deck button, having like a Stream Deck button for intro and outro graphics to be visual reminders would be awesome. So
Dude, the
we need
minute
that. We
that
need
the
the Doc was
show is
right.
over and I hear the unfortunate,
Yeah.
I know it's coming, and I like wait for that because the DJ in me thinks it's funny that Fulgens made that because like I
Yeah.
know exactly where it comes from. But like I literally wait for the
Yep.
and it's like, just like we wait for the bong bong, same thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it legit is the same thing. And that sort of winds people up. All right. Well, speaking of outro,
Yeah, I think we're there. Should we should scroll through quickly here. I'm just going to scroll to make sure we haven't missed any questions. I think you were generally answering them as we are going through, but
Jeremy said that Anna and Fulgen's music rattles the whole studio. I like that,
Jeremy's
dude.
got it
I,
cranked. I love it.
I live for that noise because I don't know, it's just something that like fires me up. It's
Yeah,
really
so
cool. I
good.
also like the way that they end by putting in, like so many comments. And I think it's good because that's a feature in Ecamm that a lot of people don't realize you can do. So I love the fact that they do that. And then Ken and Glenn also do the same thing. They just put in this barrage of comments from everybody. I think it's a good way to wrap up the show.
It is, and I am seeing a couple people that are saying. So Tora says that she loves Gretchen's outro. So a bunch of you actually have really awesome intros and outros, and are probably far better at it than I am. So please, like here's my one call to action from this show as we wrap it up. I would love to see those, and I'm sure it would be really helpful for everyone else within the Ecamm community to see some of these as well. So this is my permission for you all to drop a short clip of video into the community, whether that's on Facebook or in Discord. Do us all and Paul a favor and put, this is an example of my show intro or my show outro. so that everyone can see what it looks like. You can put that I gave you permission to do it, but I think it would be great for us all to kind of see what everyone else is doing and what people like and don't like to just to generate some ideas. So yeah, I'll have to take a look at them, but definitely feel free to go ahead and share those in. Just make sure you put it in the description so we know what it is and that you're not just randomly posting who knows what into the community and we don't want to click through links that we don't know.
And you know what's funny? I mentioned this to somebody recently. Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, he does something that's really cool. He has the current guest ask a question for the next guest, and they have no idea what the question is going to be. They don't even know who the other guest is going to be. It's just they just ask a random. It's one of these like sort of provocative, life oriented questions. I just think that stuff is brilliant. It works so well. It really
Yeah.
does work so well.
Oh, there we go. Luis is helping me. So yeah, hashtag flow challenge. That will be your that's your authorization code. Please feel free to drop that into the community. Again, if you want the community link, it is ecamm2ms.com/community. That'll give you the link to both our Discord and to our Facebook group. Feel free to share those intros and outros, or if you haven't made one yet, share like what you want to put in your intro or outro, just so that we can all support each other and see what everyone is up to. I'd love to see how everyone's creating
Yeah,
their
and
shows.
for visual triggers, people, these are things that are easily done in Canva or Adobe Express.
Mm-hmm.
I made mine in Final Cut. I have a video on my channel about it, but if you ask me, I'll show you how. I'll do another one live. Like I might re-update mine, but the last
Yeah.
time I tried to change it, Sammy had a cow.
Yeah,
Just like you
don't
said,
make Sammy
he's like,
sad.
you can't change that. Like that's the thing. And I'm like, but I just wanted to. He's like, no, put it back. I was like, yes, Sammy. Like, I got yelled at by at that time a 17-year-old kid,
Yeah,
and I was
listen to
like,
your
okay,
community.
I'll put it back.
Yeah,
So
listen to your
you gotta
community.
gotta be careful. All right, gang, you know what it is. If you have anything you want to send to us, or you just want to figure out how to see the show, make sure you go and check out flow.ecamm.com. That's flow.ecamm.com. And that will allow you to leave us a message, leave us a review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever your podcast getting is got. And what's the next one? I forgot. Luis changed the graphic. my brain, my brain
Visual
just
cues.
broke. There we go. Why my brain just broke? I have no idea. We got to give a shout out to Captivate. That's captivate.fm. That is exactly where we host the show. It is one of my favorite platforms for the simple reason that they have a growth mindset. So if you're looking for a place to host your podcast, go and check out captivate.fm. I have no idea why this just didn't work. I have
You're just
said
trying to
that.
make me feel better. Stop trying to make me feel
No,
better, Doc.
listen, I have said that no less than 98 plus times. And today my brain just went freeze. Music, please. I blame Anna. It's
90.
her fault. She's
Uh,
here. And now I'm giggling. All right, guys, you know what it is. Flow Riders out.
out. Bye, everyone.